Okay, now you can answer. Yeah, Vladislav.
Yes, it's how many goods you can produce of all available resources.
Yeah, goods and services using all available resources. Exactly. Okay. Uh, what do you remember about cycle of flow in the economy? That's when we started, it was the guy on the island. One more time, yeah, and it was so why it exists in the world is flows and flows of what? Yeah, the recording is on, so
Okay, so the what was that? Circle economy flow, right? That's when like uh from the household to money flow to business, from business to government, is it? Like the part to government and the part to
and banks, yes. So we have
banks,
the
right?
cycle of money and another cycle. So we'll always have two of them.
And products and services and goods. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
and factors of production.
yeah.
Material one and fiscal one. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, inflation. Definition of inflation. What is the inflation? How we can define it? Bless you, Daria.
Inflation is when the price of goods and services increase over some period of time.
Yeah, exactly. That's like overall.
Because lost the strength, the power of this monetary.
Unit, monetary unit of currency. Yeah. It's actually about overall price level increase in the economy. Yeah. And we talk in this case about value of money. Exactly. Perfect. A couple of more questions and we move to the next point. So what is difference about real and nominal variables? Ideas, what are we have nominal GDP, real GDP, yeah. Diana, sorry.
Nominal GDP is like a current price multiplied by current quantity. That's how I calculate it. But the difference is that real GDP is a fixed price, which is multiplied by the quantity.
Yeah. So is it correct? Yes.
I thought we were talking about variables. What did it in this case?
So nominal GDP, it's in which prices?
Like the
Yeah.
current value, the face value without including inflation.
Yeah, so in fixed prices and real in current prices. Exactly. That means that it's not only about GDP, it's any variable can be nominal and real, yeah, in economy. If we can exclude inflation from this process, so if it's connected with money, and that means that we always can exclude the inflation. In this case, we can talk about nominal and real variable. Perfect. The last one from the beginning, central bank. What is it? What are the functions? Why it's unique? What is the difference between central bank and commercial bank? Among the things that central bank can print money. Okay, Nazar.
Like a central bank, print money, like select цю процентну ставку.
Okay.
And commercial bank, it's about like a business, like to which money, like to give a credit.
Okay, commercial bank, it's about the business, so it's about the profit. The national bank can issue the money, establish the interest rate. So
And it's about financial stability in country.
it's about national security. That means that national bank, this is what?
Interest rate.
It's independent institution, governmental institution. Yeah, it's not the business; it's the governmental institution. That's the main difference, actually. But you were like on the right way. At least you remember. Okay. So now give me a second. I take something from my cough, and we come back with the macro. I hope that will help. Okay. So now I hope you remember about the central bank, yes, and about the types of money, yes, that we have different types of money, and actually the central bank now all money that we have in the world, how we can call them. What is this special word? It's not a currency, yes. So what type of money we use now? How we call it? Не знаю, я еще как называется. Хорошо. Okay.
Do you mean a currency or just the types of money we use, like paper money, cash, and
Like electronic.
Okay, electronic cryptocurrency. Okay, we also have this, but we also have different types of money. It's like checks, bonds. We have also baked money. What does it mean, baked money? No, we're not cooking them. That means that we can exchange them to the gold in any bank. But now we don't have things like that. Because okay, so how it was called, these situations, and in Europe and United States, you can all countries agreed that we can issue only that amount of money that depend from the gold amount of gold we possess, and that means that in any point of money you can go to the bank and exchange it to their gold. Yeah.
Bretton Woods Agreement?
It was actually that fixed that the only currency that was connected with the gold will be dollar United States. And before then we just agreed all countries. So one of the reasons why it's such thing existed, because all countries that participated in this agreement, they are in general in this period in economy, how we called it. Then all currency, not all, a lot of currencies were connected with the gold. The first word is gold. Golden standard, guys. Gold. That's simple. So now we don't have golden standards. The last country that tried to do it, it was Zimbabwe. They they connected their new Zimbabwe dollar to their gold, and it's called ZUK, I think, the Zimbabwe. I have to remember. You can Google it. So if they why the question why it was a problem for the countries and then for the United States to keep this connection between currency and gold, because actually that gives the stability. So if you still have your gold in your central bank, you can print money and you can develop it, prevent the currencies from hyperinflation. What is the problem with the golden standard? Yeah, Vladislav.
Limit resources?
Of what? Generally,
gold?
yes, but
We can print money, but we can't do gold more. It's limited.
yeah, that's actually that if we don't have more money, we cannot like have more. If we don't have more gold, we don't have more money. Yeah, so that's limit our ability also to trade, to pay our obligation. Yeah, and that's why countries rejected from the golden standard. Almost all European countries participated in the golden standard agreement, including Russian Empire, by the way. So central banks and monetary policy. We will talk about the money market and monetary policy today, and I think the next meeting also, because it's one of that what it's connected with the monetary policy, and monetary policy is the mostly used policy for oh my God, govern economy. We have actually two types of policies. Yeah, there are only two things that government can impose on the market: monetary policy and fiscal policy. As it you can assume from their names, the monetary policy connected with the money. Yeah, so that's it. That's it. And that means if monetary policy connected with the money, what institution is responsible for the monetary policy? Decisions that can control interest rate, issue the money, control the banks, establish the rate of reserve, have access actually, and know the monetary base in the country. So there is only one institution that we have for this. And it's surprisingly named. Okay, it's the central bank. Wow. Yeah, and that means that when we're talking about monetary policy, that's about the role of central bank in the economy, in the country development. It's not the role of the president, of parliament, ministries. It's the role and final decision of the central bank. And that's also why central banks should be independent, not like going in and printing the money or changing the interest rate or just when the president or government said so. If you look to their modern history, why Donald Trump just so in the conflict, I say, oh, like extremely arguing with the head of the Central Bank of United States. What is the reason? Yeah, Slav.
They have a big national debt, and if they will not reduce interest rate, they will pay a little bit bigger amount of money to service the bank.
Yes, so
not bank debt.
Exactly. So that's so Donald Trump has its own vision how they should develop the country, the economy, and he cares actually about the United States debts, and for him actually the weaker currency give him opportunity to decrease his debt because they need to pay less. And as we remember, National Bank, Central Bank, Federal Reserve in United States, they should focus on inflation. That's their role, yeah, and stability of the currency. So in this case, they have different goals for their policies, and yeah, that's why they're arguing every time. And the head of Federal Reserve, he fights for his independence and independence of central bank as an institution, because that's the responsibility of central bank to take care about inflation and stability of the currency. And actually, in this case, they less care about it's like political ideas and plans of other part of governmental institutions like president, parliament, ministries, etc. So that's important. President and like ministerial part of the government, they have another tools for influencing the for economy, sorry. And that's the fiscal policy. So that's their part of regulations, their part of interfering. And central bank, it's about monetary policy. So they do everything with the money. And that's why they should be politically independent. So that's the first thing. So they should be protected by the law. They have this power not to do everything they asked for by the president and government. And again, in this case, this conflict between Federal Reserve and President Trump. It's like a perfect illustration that if it's protected by the law, they have this power. And of course, afterwards, I think that it's the last cadention of the head of or director of Federal Reserve, but nevertheless, he fight for till the last days for this right to provide this independent policy. In Ukraine, we also have this independence, and it's not the one time then the head of national bank lost their position after some unpopular decisions. Yeah, so that's also true. Kudryava was not the worst director of national bank. By the way, in Ukrainian history, modern history, National Bank demonstrates some types of decisions that were written in this like book of best practices, by the way. And now they are like guidance for other central banks in critical situation. And one of those experiences, it was the under Yushchenko's, I think, governance. Then he was the head of National Bank, and that was, I think, the Orange Revolution. Then they just forbid to withdraw money from deposits, and they do this in time and save the economy from the collapse. It's not prevented us from other consequences of political misunderstanding and fight in the government, but from the perspective of economy and monetary system stability, it was the good solution, and it's one of the best practices in the world. So we also have our good practices in Ukraine. Don't be so skeptical about this, as usual. And European Central Bank, so that's the unique actually central bank, because it's not central bank for the country, yeah, but for the European Union, and that's actually not a problem, but situations, and central bank can recommend to the central bank of countries to do or not to do something. Again, it's also independent, but in this case, central banks of each European Union country should take into consideration not only like their own understanding of the situation, the strategy of the country, because independence of the central banks, it doesn't mean that like you don't listen to anybody, you don't care what is going on in the country, you just do whatever you do. Yeah, so you're still like in line with general strategy of the country development, the strategy of for 10 to 20 years. But in Europe, you also should take into consideration the recommendation of the central bank, European Central Bank. Do you remember what the lender of last resort is? What does it mean that the central bank is a lender of last resort for commercial and banks and for the government? You don't, Nazar, I see. Guys, do you remember? Tell me.
I forgot, honestly.
Okay, so that's the situation then when nobody else can give you money, yes, so nobody wants to borrow you can go to the central banks for the money. So if you're a commercial bank and you understand that you need money to pay back all your commitments, and nobody want to give you money with any other commercial bank, because you understand that they understand that you are stable, you can go to the central bank and ask for money. And as the central bank is interested in stabilization, they will borrow the money or propose some other approaches. And also then the government needs money for paying pensions, any social obligation, whatever percentage for the bond. They also can ask money to the central bank. And money, yes, so we will talk about money supply today, and then about the exchange rate, and why exchange rate also depends from the inflation. And then we will have monetary and fiscal policy. Monetary policy, that's like the sphere of the central bank power, and it's all about all tools, all possible ways how central bank can influence to the economy. And the only thing actually that central bank can influence, that's money supply in their economy. So if we think about this circular flow, if you remember that we started today, so we have our, let's say, business. Yeah, it's business, and we have our guide, 2 legs. Yeah, so, and we have one cycle. Yeah, so we have the cycle with the money. That's and also with the money, and another cycle in the opposite direction with goods and services, material part. Yeah, with it. Okay, I was here. Goods and factors of production, like factors of. That means that's what defines the economy. That's what we have, like these 2 floors. That's the only actual that we have. And banks, actually, they can influence this part of life, this part of cycle flow, the monetary one. And government, with their fiscal policy, can influence like this market of goods and services. If you think about what we have in the country, in the economy, we like have 2 dimensions. They are connected, but they existed like simultaneously in the money supply and money demand, and supply and demand to the goods and services. And that existed at the same time. That means that banks influence this part connected with money supply and money demand. And government try to influence the part with that connected with goods and service. Okay. No, I don't want. That's what we discussed last time. Just the discount rate. That's open market operations, and we sell bonds and buy bonds. Yes, so when we sell bonds, we take money from the market. Yeah, when we buy bonds, we add money to the market. The same, so we have more money, so increase in money supply, decrease in money supply. The same with lending money to the commercial banks, this change in discount rate. If we increase discount rate, that means that we make money like more expensive to use money. Yeah, we make them less attractive as a bank. And that means that the money supply will decrease because each bank, each entrepreneur in the sense that now to use money, it's more expensive because you need to pay higher discount rate. If we want to intensify the process, we want to increase money supply, to make more intensive use of money. We reduce discount rate. When central bank reduce discount rate, it's make money more accessible, more cheap, like you pay less for using the money. Yeah, this discount rate or less. And then that will mean that money supply will increase. Now I just okay, the first 10 minutes break, and then I will tease you with the graphs again. So 10 minutes break, guys, and I take a sip
Can
of
I ask?
yeah. Oh my God. Oh wow, we have more people. I guess I find put pluses. Yeah, you can ask. Okay. I forgot to record today. It's a pity. Anyway, so if we're talking about the money demand, we like agreed, or you agreed with me, yes, that we can interpret it graphically in this way, and that means that the higher prices are, the more money we need. That's what we can see here in this. What with the money supply? Money supply is connected actually with monetary base. Do you remember what the monetary base is? Yes, that's what we discussed last time when I draw banks, then we put money and take money. And we said that money supply actually depends from the monetary base. Yes, so we can predict amount of money that we will have in the economy, and that will depend also from not only from physical ability to print the money, but also from this reserve rate, etc. And we have this monetary base. Do you remember what is it? Yeah, Daria?
The total amount of currency created by central bank of country.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we have. And it's controlled by the central bank. Yeah, that means that money supply in the economy doesn't depend from actually price level. Yeah, because it's controlled by the central bank. It's not like changes in price will automatically increase the supply of the money. Yes, that's something under control of the bank. That means that money supply will be vertical line because it will be constant in some period of time, because that's like what the central bank is controlling. So it's a responsibility, and it will look like this. So money supply will be just vertical line, and money demand will be connected with price level and our need of money. All players and actors in the economy, like households, government, businesses, etc. So money demand connected with this, with all actors, with all influence and reflecting the money demand. Money supply, it's the only one player who control it, it's central bank. That's why it will be constant. It doesn't mean that it's not changed. Yeah, it can be changed. We talk about this that we can change the money supply, but actually that's changed not because change of prices. Yeah, that the institutions that influence change of money supply, it will be the central bank. And that means that if we're talking about the situation on the market, we will have some stability. Yes, so this intersection of supply and demand. Intersection of supply and demand, that's so-called equilibrium. We will talk about this a lot on macroeconomic course. Here we also will talk about this equilibrium. That's the point of stability when our demand is meet our supply. And on monetary market, it's also will be always the intersection between money supply and money demand. And classical theory of inflation said us that if we increase money supply, yes, so that means for us that our money supply curve will be shift to the right, that we will have more money on the market. Yes, so we move it here. And if it will be here, it's always like marketers always try to find this point of stabilization, that's point of intersection between money demand and money supply. That means if we have more money, we will use more money, we will demand it more money. Yeah, because there's like nobody will reject this. It's money if we can have them. Yeah. And it always, if we increase money supply, the easiest way to increase money supply is to print the money. Yeah. So if we increase money supply, it always will have these consequences, like value of money will what will happen with the value of money 1 divided to p?
It will decrease.
Yeah, it will decrease. For example, for 1, that means that what happened with the prices? If value of money, it's 1 divided to p, and our first 1 divided to p were equal to 2, that means that prices were equal to what? I actually calculated it, 0.5. Yeah, and now if our 1 divided to p is equal 1, yeah, that's automatically mean that it's that the price now will be also equal 1. Yeah, so that the price level is increasing. Does it make sense?
Yes, it does.
Perfect. So, and the Milton as one of the theoreticals who study the inflation, he said that there is always only one reason why we have inflation in the country. That's our monetary policy. Because monetary policy, it's actually connected mostly with money supply. If we increase money supply, it always will have only one huge consequences. We will have inflation. And he said that when we are looking for any other reasons of inflation, we are looking in the wrong place. Always there are institutions that responsible for the inflation, it's central bank, and it's always the consequences of monetary policy. And there is no possibility to increase in money supply or change or print the money and think that we escape the inflationary processes. That's not possible. We always will face inflation. So that's and it's still that Friedman received actually a Nobel Prize for his studies. And if you're interested, you can find it on YouTube, the lectures written by Friedman himself, and his Nobel Prize speech. It's not in good quality, but still, if you're really interested, you can find it. So he said that it's like existed this connection. That means that any government shouldn't expect that we print the money and then we'd have stable value of the currency. So that's always be the same reason. And that means that, for example, even if we don't have a choice, like in Ukraine, we need to, in some moments, we really print the money. Yes, so that's issue the money. And the reason for this, the consequences of this is inflation in the country. That's also why central banks should be independent, because it gives us a chance that not all decisions were connected with the monetary policy, and we won't always be expecting the increase in their inflation. So does it make sense? I hope yes. No? Okay, if you don't want to talk with me, let's move to the next point. So today we have among this perfect monetary market and classical dichotomy I also want to talk with you about. We also have Marxism, like one of the controversial and interesting economic theories, and every time we have problems in their economies and some crises, we observe this renaissance of Marxism. So I will ask you to find some ideas, not just. So we have three groups. Okay, the first group will talk about core ideas of Marxism. It's okay. The second group, anyway, I will divide all of you so that's we'll talk about criticism, or why Marxism, why it doesn't work. Yes, so why it doesn't work. I hope it's okay. And the third group, countries, at least one country, which try to implement the theory in the reality. In reality. Or Cuba, China, whatever. So it's always, and actually the country as an example, and your thoughts about is it success, is it failure, so is it something that worth to try to implement? So the first group, the second group, and the third group. I hope it's clear. Yes, no, yes. Perfect, thanks. Any chance Okay, be like this. So I think that 10 minutes will be enough to find all those information. So take your time. What about Marxism? I think the first group can start.
Yes. Let's start talk about Marxism. Karl Marx was a German philosopher and economist who studied how society and the economy works. He created Marxism, a theory explaining history and society through economic relationship and class struggle. According to Marx, society is divided into the bourgeoisie, owner of production, and the proletariat, workers. In capitalism, workers are exploited. They produce more value than they receive, and the surplus goes to the owners. Marx believes this explanation would lead to revolution and eventually a class society with shared property and equality for all. Olivia will continue.
Okay. According to Marx, society is divided into main classes: the bourgeoisie, who own the means of production, and the proletariat, who sell their labor. This system creates exploitation because workers produce more value than they receive as wages. These profits go to the owners, not those who actually create these goods. Vladislav will continue.
Social change and conclusion. According to Marx, every economic system contains conflicts that lead to change. When inequality grows, the working class will rise up and build a new system, socialism and later communism. In a communism society, there are no classes and no private ownership, and everyone works for the common good. In summary, Marxism calls for the equality, cooperation, and an end to exploitation. The end. Thanks for attention.
And okay, what about critics? Yes.
I will speak about why Marxism doesn't work. And the first, what I will start with is the main reason, as I think, is a lack of incentives. As I said before, one of the main reasons why it doesn't work is a lack of personal incentives. And we have such case like in a Marxist system, all property and production belong to the state, so individuals do not receive personal rewards for working harder or being more creative. So when everyone gets almost the same outcome, no matter how much effort they put in, people lose motivation to improve their performance. And as a result, productivity decreases, innovation stops, and the whole economy becomes less efficient. So, in contrast, in market economies, competition and the desire for profit encourage people to work better and create new ideas, which leads to economic growth. My teammates will continue.
Yeah, it will be me. One of the most bad things is that central planners can never gather enough real-time information to make rational economic decisions, such as pricing. In market economic, we will have approach that price automatically reflects supply and demand, and if it overproduced, price will fall. But in the planned economic, planners must guess what people will want and how much. It's like assumptions that practically not fit with the reality. There is no price signal to guide those decisions, and the system is practically blind. It's like picking up imaginary sums. So, and example, very simple, is like overproducing one product and not enough product in other spheres, such as groceries. Have like examples with USSR. Also, bureaucratic inefficiency. Central planning creates enormous bureaucracies, thousands of committees and ministries, layers of paperwork, slow approvals, and so on. And it will lead to delays, corruption, and waste of resources allocated politically not efficiently. And lack of feedback and innovation. For example, in markets economics, we have consumers vote with money, and that caused that bad products fail, and the good ones will spread across the market. Also, companies must innovate to survive and compete with others. But in the central planning, we have no competition that leads to no reason to improve. Also, innovation is risky, could disrupt the plan, usually discouraged. Also mistakes are hidden or punished, no honest feedback loop. And one of the, like, okay, if we will take the USSR as example, we have overproducing everything, and not always it will actually need it in the society, because producing like millions of nails at the same time as citizens require, like, I don't know, sausage and bread, it's actually stupid.
Yes. So maybe let's talk about exact example, like politician power concentration. It's in attempts to create classless societies, power often become highly centralized in the hands of political elite, for like Communist Party leaders, instead of equally, it led to new hierarchies, corruption, and authoritarian regimes like Stalin's USSR and Mao's China. And ordinary workers lost freedom and had no way to hold leaders accountable. That's like clear example of it, what Alexei told us about.
Okay. And the last, the smallest but bravest group about the example. Okay, Diana.
Okay, there were actually many countries that tried to implement Marxism, but I chose China to show an example. And Marxism started to flourish in China after the fall of the last Chinese dynasty in the early 20th century. And it was implemented firstly by the Communist Party of China, who strived to create a country which would be like modern socialist country. And later in the course of time, it was adapted. So it wasn't like pure Marxism, which stated that the society should be classless and stateless, but it was adapted in order to function better by the Chinese party. And it became socialism with Chinese characteristics. So how it worked? China understood that it couldn't like let the society do its own thing, so they, in order to control it better and not to be like full dictatorship, they mixed the economy with state control, and some market freedoms and private business development in order to make it better and make it function as a whole. And it actually achieved huge economic growth because they combined socialism with capitalism. So now, today, the Communist Party of China still claims that it's following those Marxism ideas, but it made their country function as a hybrid system. So it's politically a communist country that follows Marxism ideals, but economically it is a capitalist country. And the party argues that this is a necessary step toward a modern socialist state. So even though the country tried to implement like Marxism or Leninism, pure ideals, it knew that in order to achieve some economic growth and be the leading economy it is today, it needed to make some adaptations to that theory. And now Sophia will say a few things about why it's worth or not.
Firstly, some countries such as Sweden and Norway try to implement economic theories of equality in reality, sought social welfare systems. Moreover, these nations invest heavily in education and healthcare to make the theory of equal opportunities work. However, not all countries can successfully apply the theory because of limited resources or political instability. For example, developing countries often face difficulties in turning theoretical ideas into practical actions. In conclusion, while some countries manage to implement the theory effectively, others still struggle to achieve the same results. Thank you for your attention.
Okay. So, as one says, some rational things are existed in the Marxism. So, what do you think is there possibility to build socialism, communism in the real world? What do you think about China, not from perspective of like being their second biggest economy, but the place for living, taking into consideration this adaptation of Marxism theory inside the country? Yeah, Diana?
I actually think that it depends on what we assume and what goals we care about, like equality, political liberties, and freedom and stability. But as far as I know, even though China operates efficiently right now and the Marxism theory is adapted and is hybrid, there is still some limited political freedom in the country. So it's not like a democratic country or it doesn't operate on democratic principles at all. That means that the government like maximum controls the society, even though it implements some capitalism theories in order to make the economy work. So personally, I wouldn't like to live there if I had like little rights or freedom to define many important things.
I see. I agree that there is no like such thing as a freedom in China. And they're trying to control like everything, and you all know that even those people who are really rich and who even think that they are free, we all know that after they said something that is not going in line with the understanding of right and wrong of Chinese government, they just disappeared and then coming back and what their state in public, just their opinion is changing dramatically according to how it should be sound from the perspective of the Chinese government. Okay, who else? What do you think about this? About the China, about Marxism as a alternative way of development? So would you choose, I don't know, live in such and build socialism? Actually, if you agree, that means that it's refreshing for you. You just I don't know, agreed with everything. My experience teaching Chinese students, it was the hardest course I have ever read because it was, from my perspective, it's like the old people with some names that were just make up for this course because they don't want to share their real names. And that means that they don't recognize their new names. And absence of any response. So you just tell whatever you need to tell, and that's all. So from maybe not all courses and not all traditions look like this inside the China, but as soon as was invader and not belong to the Chinese internal environment, it was very weird for me. So, okay, the next question, before we move to the classical dichotomy and open economy, so China is also famous by approach or some radical approaches for fighting the corruption. Yeah, so we just kill those whom we accused of being corrupt. What do you think about this approach of anti-corruption policies?
Especially in China, or
is it something that we can, I don't know, adopt in Ukraine and just send us people to their first kill people for corruption?
a famous African governmental person said, corruption is only bad if I'm not involved.
Of course.
But if I'm part of this corruption, I will defend it. It's literally what he said.
Yeah.
I mean that corruption is. What do we have to answer about how to control it, or what can we possess?
If you know how to control it, yeah, it's also the option. My question was more about what do you think about such approach that actually always was implemented or declared and used by socialism or regimes that were on the side of Marxism, is just highest possible sentence for those who are blamed with some, for example, with corruption. So we need to kill those people. What do you think? Is it work? Is it something that is worth to look through and think about adoption it for us or for any other countries?
I think that corruption is a nice instrument to place wealthy and poor people in one place, and they can afford something to themselves by paying money, and it's like an instrument to keep balance in country.
Okay. Any other thoughts about corruption? What do you think about this? Guys, wake up. Okay, no ideas about corruption anymore. Okay, yeah. Now let's put here the stop. I'm not actually agree that corruption is a good instrument. What I agree that if we think that like corruption is a good thing, if I involved in it, but as long as I'm not involved, it's about their high level of tolerance, internal tolerance to the corruption. So if we tolerated corruption on all level, especially on this level, a very low level, when we have like people who for whom it's not like something wrong, it's just like the tool of reaching some goals. It doesn't matter how many people were going to kill if we catch them and accuse them with corruption, because all other people would tolerated this and use this as an instrument. So from my perspective, it doesn't work. So
I'm sorry for interrupting you, but yeah, I wanted to add that corruption can be good in all meanings if we speak about situations where people do serious crimes. It was said like more to when you are pulled over and feed for speeding, you may pay money to not to have this like in your history, in order to I don't know. I don't want to be
there was
in
a
a
lot
lower.
for answering the question.
I don't want to be a lover of devil.
It's not like this. It's just that if it was so easy to classify, to understand, to fight, we don't have such an issue with the corruption. Yes, so it's not something it's easy to answer. I just want to show you that if we go in line with your logic, that means that we have like good and bad corruption, or accessible corruption and not accessible corruption. And the problem with this that actually we can like the higher you are on this social ladder, this accessibility or something that like the level of corruption that you can use is also will grow like with you. So that's the problem.
Yes, it's dangerous, but sometimes when I think about corruption, I think about such situations where I have to pay money to get better conditions, like to in my life, and I don't. With this, I pay like for solving problems much faster than others can solve them on their own without paying money.
That's the point, actually. So we are the only two in this discussion, so I will move to the main topic. But to sum up, it's the good point, actually, that you mentioned. It's not only about the corruption, it's also when we talk about this shadow economy. So it's always a matter of the fact what is like cheaper and more comfortable. So if it's easier to pay bribes, for example, and act in the shadow for the business, and it's really like solve a lot of problems. The business will stay in the shadow. If it's easier and cheaper, pay taxes and work on the like bright side of the economy, yeah, the business will move to this bright side. It's not about like being bad and in this case and being like good people. It's about where you are easier to find your place. So if it's too high taxation, if it's too complicated system, if it's too long time for registration, for example, your activity, because in some countries it's like almost 1 year, yeah, so you all your ideas just lost their value till this time, so the business is going to the shadow. It's also like some kind of simplification, but in general it works like this. Okay, thanks, Alexei, for some participation. Before we move to the open economy, and I will ask you to calculate something and to talk about this analysis. There is such thing that's more theoretical one, but it's worth to mention because we will talk about this like over again. It's something that was created in 1960s, and it's still used. It's like this nominal and real variables. Yeah, that's what we have talked about today. And as we said, yeah, that nominal variables, they are measured in monetary units. Yeah, and they're always in monetary. Real, they can be measured in physical units and in monetary units, but real, it's like adjusted to inflation. Yeah, that we try to to focus only on the real change of the variable. Yeah, and classical dichotomy said us that there are like different approach and different points of view to the economy, and that real variables, they are independent from monetary variables. Yeah, that's what give us this idea. It's not as difficult as it sounds. That's give us the point that there are like two types of variable. One of them are literally dependent from the monetary thing, and real variables, as soon as they are adjusted to inflation, yeah, even if we measure them in money, not in monetary units, they are fixed on real production, on this on production and services part of the economy, and that means that nominal variables are dependent from change in monetary policy, from inflation, and real variable is not. Yeah, because we adjusted them as we do with deflator, with GDP, etc. And that's mean that inflation or money supply, because previously we have been talking about money supply. That's the main engine for the inflation. That money supply will affect the price level and won't affect the quantity produced. So money supply will affect the real variable, sorry, nominal variables. Yeah, because nominal variables reflect, they are always in monetary units, and they are depend from the money supply. And real variables, they dependent from their amount that we supply, not from the monetary policy. That means that in a long run, changes won't affect the amount that we produce. And that's called like monetary neutrality. That means that a level of production, yes, that's a physical amount of what we produce, not depend from the monetary policy. It depends only from the factors of production, from what we need to produce from our plants, not from inflation, not from changing these prices. In the long run, what is important that it's in the long run. All that we will have discussed in this lecture and the next meeting, we will divide it in like long run and short run, because it will have different consequences. And it's important that in economy on all levels, macro and micro levels, you always will have this difference, what's happening in the short run and the long run. And in the long run, we can observe this classical dichotomy or monetary neutrality. Then GDP is not affected by the inflation. Yes, so we will produce what we are producing. These physical variables are not affected by the changing in price, but in the short run, they are. That's called classical dichotomy. It's this duality is, from one perspective, is like pretty simple. From the other hand, it's sometimes like a twist between like this short and long run. So is it clear why we have this dichotomy?
Yes.
Perfect. So from this point, we move to the open economy. So we stopped here with this. It's more advanced theoretical approach, but I really sure that we need it because it's really used in a lot of explanation, and it's give us idea that it's not all that the changes of the price are not always affect our economy and the level of production, the physical level of production. This is different. And coming back, it's also the continuation of this theory of cycle of laws. So it's not just all these cycles that I draw. So it's give us a clue for understanding of a lot of situation in the economy. So I really pretty sure that closed and open economy, that something is pretty obvious. Yeah, it's intuitively understandable that closed economy doesn't interact with the rest of the world, and open economy, it's interaction. And if we're coming back to our GDP, if you remember, yeah, we talk also that firstly we describe it and work with the closed economy, where our GDP for closed economy is equal to what? Consumption plus
Workability and life level.
but if we're coming back to the quotations, so consumption plus investment plus what? Governmental expenditures. I'm pretty sure that I hear this voice also. And that's for closed economy. Economy that it's like in the box. And we understand that in the real life, yeah, that's like there is almost no such thing like closed economy. Yeah, so we're still trade with with other economies. And this part of the GDP that's connected with the trade with the openness of economy, it's our net export. Yes, it's export minus import. So that's this part, yeah, that's connected with and existed if we are open. If we closed, it will be like this. I think that in the real world now we don't have closed economy. We used to have, and actually this geography, economical geography, that's the history about the trade between the countries, how the countries started to be more open and trade with each other. So that's not only about the geography, it's also about the economy, always about the economy. And as soon as countries understand that trade give them a lot of opportunities, they become more and more open. And now we even can discuss that we have like another problem that we are too dependent from the trade. Yes, that we are too open, and that's also like can create problems for economic stability. Yeah, then you depend from materials and services, labor from the other country, from the rest of the world. But before we move to the how we can use this data, how we can think about this openness of economy, because if we can calculate it, we can measure and we can interpret. Yeah, so we can make some conclusions and have some lessons learned from this data. Otherwise, why do we need it? When we're talking about net export minus import, we are talking about that's what called trade balance. Yeah, that's the trade balance. Export minus import. It can be equal to zero. That means that we're exported the same amount goods and services that were imported. Yeah, in monetary dimension. Yeah, that means that the sum that we receive for export is equal to the sum that we spend to import. It can be positive and it can be negative. What does it mean, positive trade balance? If it's higher than zero. Yeah, Vladislav.
We export more than we import.
Yeah, and if you continue to think in this way, what you can think about the country that it's export more than import?
We more produce for what?
Yeah, so that we more produce, we more oriented on sending or selling our goods, and we less dependent from the goods produced abroad. Yeah, generally. If our trade balance is less than the zero, what does it mean? If we have negative trade balance.
We more depends on another countries. We
Exactly.
more bank.
Yeah, that means that we imported more than we exported, and that means that our economy really dependent from a lot of like positions that's produced abroad. from this position, just like, can you assume for now, Ukraine, what kind of trade balance do we have?
Deficit. We more import.
Yeah, exactly. We are more imported from, especially from the beginning of the full-scale invasion, we are more imported than we exported. And it's like a logical continuation. Yeah, because like a lot of facilities were destroyed, so now we depended from the import. From the perspective of the GDP, trade balance and GDP, negative, positive, equal to or neutral or equal to the zero. What can be said? What we can assume? You have quotation, you have now, so here we can have plus, we can have minus, or we can actually have zero, yes? So that depends from our trade balance. So in Ukraine now, if we have negative trade balance, that's actually mean what? What happened with, yeah, Vladislav?
We have a lower GDP than in the previous years because we not produce so much like before. So our GDP lower.
At least it's not grow as fast as we can looking for our plant, because it's not only depend from how good we are in consumption, yeah, not only investments in governmental expenditures, but our dependence from external markets from abroad and import actually like decrease our GDP. And if we were struggle and trying to produce something, our export a lot of things like it's also for, and at least looking for like this zero for neutrality, it's give us also a chance not only decrease dependence from external markets, but also like stimulate our GDP growth. And if we have positive trade balance, that means that actually our GDP is benefited from the trade with the rest of the world. We receive really a lot of money, and that's give us actually some benefits. But it always the risk, yeah? So if we are highly dependent from the trade, from the export, it's all, and our GDP growth is based on the export, that's also creates the risks for the country. What risks that's create? Coming back to the China, yes. So for them, so they have problems with investments for increasing the consumption in internal consumption. Yeah, for them that's a problem because they have this not high level of well-being of the people. Yeah, so they're really highly dependent from this export from abroad. The extremely high stable GDP growth, that so-called Chinese miracle, was 10% that they achieved for several years in a row. they actually based it on exporting a lot of goods. So they actually export everything to everywhere. We all know this. So for them, it was the source of their stable economic growth. And that's what the problem of this approach. Oh, okay, not the problem, the possible risks of this approach. Yes, what is the risk that we are dependent from the export? If our economic development and people will be independent from the export. Is there a problem at all? Maybe it's not a problem.
We had to produce our own on our own. And if we only consume, export, that will decrease our GDP.
Okay, Vladislav.
We also depend on another countries.
Yeah, we depend from another countries, and so that means that if something changed in the world trade system or change in taxation, yeah, what will be post quotas, for example, or something like they don't need our goods or service. Actually, more in most cases, goods. Yeah, we will have a problem because our GDP was decreased. Exactly. I see the problem with the China, including the China, not only. So if we are export-oriented economy and we produce something that we are like going to export, yeah, that means that actually if we produce it and we cannot export it, we generally what can happen with all those goods?
They become less pricey.
It's the consequences. So we produce, I don't know, a lot of anything, some cheap toys, for example. And nobody wants to buy our toys because, I don't know, Trump imposed next tariffs to everything, and that's nobody wants our toys somewhere else, or European Unit created new regulations, and now it's not produced from the safety material from the perspective of the European Union, so we cannot export there. And we have a lot of toys. What happened? What we can do with all this stuff? Yes, we have a lot of toys. What we can do?
We can sell them.
Yeah, we can sell. In this case, it's moved from the export to the consumption. We can try to sell it to our local citizens because nobody else in the world want it. Yeah, so we sell it to the local citizens.
Yeah.
What is the problem here? Why China cannot do this, for example? Why for China export is so crucial? Why it will fight till the end with the United States? Why for China it's not the option to sell all those stuff on internal market?
Because citizens don't need it.
The first, they don't need it, and the next, also important.
And maybe in some cases they can afford it.
Yep.
Maybe.
They don't have enough money to buy it. And in this case, actually, this dependence from the export, that's like the bad thing for the country. And another way, so if we produce it and now we want to sell it in our internal market and nobody can afford it, or like not all people can afford it, we cannot sell it in the whole range, we start to decrease the price. Yeah, so, and that means that it will bankrupt our own enterprises, because they will sell it even for prices less than they cost. So that's the problem when the country dependent from the export. Does it make sense, guys? Are you here? Somebody else approach Alexei and Vladislav. Are you still there?
May I ask you the same question once again? So, may I?
Yeah.
So the main reasons are that when country is addict to export, it depends on export. It will have problems such as what if they can't sell their products to other countries. They will have problems with selling it to their local citizens.
Look, it doesn't mean that it's always.
I want to just sum up this.
Okay, so when country depends. Okay, I understand. So when country depends from the export, that means they are highly dependent from geopolitics, the first, yes. So any tariffs, any quotas, any trade wars will directly affect the GDP. And also they depended from the contractor of the market. Yes, so even if no other governmental interference, but something changed. Yes, the contractor conjunctura. Yes, the contractor is changing. It also will affect the GDP. Problem here for the country. So if we have dependence from export, so we produce a lot of something, and we cannot sell it abroad. Yes, so that means that it can stay in the country, and the next year it will be, if it's not like tragically affect our economy this year, but nothing will change in the next year. Like we will produce more and more and just have it in storage in the country, because in most cases, we don't need all those things inside the country. We don't have enough capacity for consumption, what we produce for the export inside the country. Yeah, so, and if we cannot sell it neither abroad nor to their internal consumers, that means that our production facilities, our enterprises will bankrupt sooner or later. Yeah. So that's the problem.
I got it.
Perfect. So there are like some mitigation that we can think of on the level of the government or on the level of the enterprises. We can communicate for better, like possibilities to trade. We can try to enter new markets. If we export and we depended from export some raw materials, or for example, I don't know, wheat, we can think about investment and open new entrepreneurial facilities that will produce not wheat but the flour, etc. So there are some mitigation activities, but in the very beginning, what has happened here, we will lost the money and our GDP growth will be, okay, decrease. Maybe not minus, but it will decrease anyway. Okay, the next point. If here it's like everything is clear, guys. Oh, yeah, I need to sum up or explain something one more time.
No, it's clear.
Perfect. What is the problem that when we depends from the import?
It can cause a lot of problems. First of all, other countries can place their own prices on goods, and
Okay, so we depend from the price level of goods and services.
And the second point is what I said before, because I misunderstood the meaning of export and import. I told that country has to produce their own goods to sell it, to keep balance in country and to develop itself.
Yeah, so
I mean,
in this case,
yeah.
we need to find some opportunity to replace the imported goods. Yeah, that's also the possible strategy. I agree. Yeah, so it's not always possible for different reasons.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Now we move to the next point. So trade balance reflect the difference between the export and the import. Yeah, so it can be neutral, it can be positive, it can be negative. If we look on the result here, the trade balance is does it give us the answer about how economy is open? Yeah, so if we're talking about the openness and that export and import, it's there are two things using which we can actually talk about the openness of economy, because openness is about the trade. Does the trade balance give us understanding about the openness of economy? What do you think? Okay. So look, we have two economies here. It can be millions, milliards, whatever. Yeah. Oops. The point here that trade balance in both cases, yeah, are the same. Yeah, so it's small. But as we see, the intensiveness of trade and of trade communication with the world is extremely different. And one economy is actually closed. Yeah, so when we talk about closed economy in modern world, it doesn't mean that that's like the barriers and it's no communication, no trade with the world at all, but it's like minimum. And open economies that are actually trading very intensively with the rest of the world. So when we want to assess the openness, the degree of openness, we are not talking about trade balance, but we are talking about the export and import, how they size are, what the part of the GDP they are. So that's give us the understanding of degree of openness of national economies. Yes, remember, that's not the trade balance. Yeah, that's export plus import. And in this case, if we will assume some number of GDP, even if it was the same, I don't know, and here GDP will be in this country, I don't know, equal to what, whatever, 2000, and GDP for the next country also will be equal, let's say 2000, why not? So the degree of openness will be different. So in first or 20, whatever, to better calculation. So in first situation, it will be what? 3 divided to 2000, and it will be multiplied by 100%. It will be 0.15%. And in another point, for another economy, degree of openness will be 200. At 15, oh my God, plus 249, then we will divide it to 200 and multiply by 100%. And in this, for the second economy, degree of openness will be
25.
Yeah, 25%. So that's why we will use this degree of openness for identifying how open economy is for the rest of the world. Perfect. No, it's not what I'm going to do. So there are countries who are really dependent from the trade. You can find like later data. Unfortunately, it's not like calculated automatically for the latest years, but you can do it by yourself. So please, I will divide you and you will calculate. First, I will show you what I want you. So that's what I find, and I want you to do the same. Yes, so we have country, we can find information about GDP, about export and import. And then you can actually calculate the trade balance. Yeah, and degree of openness. Here you can see that there are countries like with positive trade balance, with a negative trade balance, and we can tell, for example, that Ukraine like is have the degree of openness of Ukraine is like comparable with the degree of openness of the Germany. Yeah, that's again, so that's the only one of dimensions. So we can compare openness of economy, Ukraine and Germany, when we're talking about degree of openness, but it's not enough to analyze the situation, because the first that we can see that Germany's openness is built on export the goods. Yeah, Ukraine openness more dependent from the import the goods. Yeah, the balance of trade is have the opposite signs. At the same time, here I especially take the 2020 because now situation is changing drastically. But for Germany, Germany is more dependent from the trade. And for Ukraine, even though that we have a higher level of openness of the economy, these negative results of our balance of trade is not influence our GDP and a lot. Yes, so it's only 1% of our GDP. So for Ukraine, the main components of our GDP in 2020 were created here, and only 1% were on the balanced trade. For Germany, this was like 6% of GDP. So that's Germany was much more dependent from the trade from the rest of the world. And not surprisingly, Singapore is extremely dependent from the trade from the rest of the world, because that in this they created their 1/3 of their GDP. So trade gives them actually 1/3 of their national income. Yeah, so for Ukraine, we lost only 1% of our national income, and we are open, so that give us as a chance. Like for Germany, they are like as open as we are, and but they are more dependent from the trade with the rest of the world. The nearest actually we are with Mexico, but Mexico receive this 2% from the trade. So that's how we can use all those data to think about the economy and eliminating that the openness, what it can give us, and can we benefit at what are the potential risks? Because actually for Ukraine now, our dependence from the import, that's the risk, but it's give us a possibility to survive, because we cannot produce now a lot of things inside the country. Yes, so that's the point when we can make some analysis. So is it clear what we're doing here?
Yeah.
Perfect. So now let's think. Okay, 12. Let's make 10 minutes break, then you will calculate it, and then we will continue a little bit earlier. We're not going to. Okay, I remember. Okay, so which group is ready?
I guess I can start if you want.
Yes, I want your presentation. What you have
Okay.
done. So we start with
Okay. I was in a group with Vladislav, so we prepared two graphics of United Kingdom, and we will compare these two graphics, and in comparison we will define what had happened to this country. So the GDP in billion dollars is 2,707,000.
Maybe you have some, I don't know, graphs or numbers. I appreciate that you read it, but really for me it's easier sometimes to see.
I did it from telephone.
Okay, okay, let it be.
Yeah. So GDP, I already told that it's 2,707,740. 2,707,740.
Okay.
Export is 468,000. 468,074. І імпорт 637,573. Now we take now we find out the balance of trade. We have to depict export from import, and we have 169 399. So balance of trade поділи на GDP дорівнює мінус 6,3%. А імпорт з експортом поділено на GDP дорівнює 40,7%.
Okay, and what all those numbers give us? So to summarize, so you calculate perfect. Now some conclusions about the country, about its situations.
Conclusion is that from these calculations are from 2020 year, from the year of 2020, and the import plus export divided by GDP in the 2024 is 11,4%. So if to compare these two periods of United Kingdom, economic situation become better due to several facts, and as I think is one of the main factors is that they became not overpopulated, but they have a lot of immigrants come to United Kingdom, and whole economic situation become better because some of them, not all of them, but some of them started working, paying taxes, and etc. So it some kind helped to help them to develop themselves.
Okay. And the degree of openness of UK is, just remind me.
Degree of openness in UK is
We calculate this percentage.
ну, 40,7%.
Perfect. So it says the degree of openness. If we look at this, give me a second.
Export plus import divided by
Divided,
GDP.
yeah, I just don't remember the number, so it's not like I trying to. Okay, so it's between, if we're interested here, in Russia and Egypt. Okay. Thanks. Who will be the next?
Thank you too.
We have 3 groups. Okay, yeah,
We can start.
perfect.
Yeah. So we choose Brazil for our study to show how international trade affects the country's economy. In 2024, Brazil exported about $315 billion and import 250 billion. This accounts for approximately 30% of its GDP. Alexei, continue.
This resulted in a positive trade balance of 100 billion, meaning Brazil sells more abroad than it buys. The degree of openness is 30%, showing that international trade plays a moderate role in Brazil economy. Although Brazil is not highly integrated into the world economy as some European countries, it successfully maintains a positive trade balance, which supports economic stability and development. And as we see on this graph, we have expectation that the trade balance is rising each year from 2022, in which the country has a decreasing trend of trade balance. Actually, it's a good, I think. But as I found, the suggestions of increasing GDP of Brasilia is decreasing in percentage, I mean.
Okay, so that's trade balance and degree of openness. So they have positive trade balance and it grows. So that means that their export is higher than their import. And what about degree of openness of Brazil economy?
As I mentioned, it was 30%.
30%, perfect. Okay. It's between Turkmenistan and Uganda, but again, so the degrees of openness, it's not the only thing that you should mention. And also, if you are studying that's what can be interesting from perspective of analysis the economy, why they have their like the first like increase and then fluctuation and then increase again in the trade balance. So it's the point where you can start your research for understanding the economy. For example, it's like there were some changes, for example, in the methodology or some political problems inside the country or any other reasons. Okay, thanks. Who will be the next? I know who will be the next. It's no chance you're...
We will be the next, yeah. I will just demonstrate a screen. 1 second, please. So I did a simple calculation on the balance of trade and on the whole dependence of this country on the imports and exports. So the GDP of Switzerland is $936 billion as of 2024. I forgot to add it. Just a second. Yeah. And imports account for $371 billion and exports for $446 billion. So I calculated the balance of trade, which is exports minus imports, and we receive $75 billion, which is a clear surplus. So it means that the economy doesn't have any problems with too much importing versus exporting. And then balance of trade in relation to GDP, it's 8%, which means that the economy relies on, it is dependent on international trade, but not too heavily. So only 8% of trade constitutes its general GDP.
Okay, and what about the balance degree of openness?
And Daria will show it.
Okay.
Just a second.
Yes, I calculated and I have 87.3%. And it means that Switzerland economy highly open.
Yeah. It's yeah, but and it's like for sure more open than United Kingdom and Brazil. So they are on the top. And the most open economy in the world, it's Luxembourg. Yeah, their degree of openness is almost 400%. Then we have the country Djibouti, not there even, and only then Hong Kong, Singapore, and like the country who are in most cases associated with the trade. So if you're interested, you can look through. And again, remind you that like any data in economy, it's you should analyze it in connection with the other. Yeah, so you do also try to analyze not only the degree of openness, because that's mean how intensive country trade with the rest of the world, but also it's important to understand what trade balance they have, negative or positive, and how important it's for their GDP. And understand about that, it's like till 50%, that's like less dependent, and like if degree of openness, like Singapore is 6. Here, okay. Let me show you. It's 2023, like 386%. That means that like the total economy dependent from the trade. That means that if something happened that destroys some connections, some trade agreements, etc. Yeah, Luxembourg, Hong Kong, Singapore, actually the GDP will be suffer a lot. And it's the problem here for the economy. It's actually that if they are so dependent from the trade, that means actually that they are not only producing this and sell it. Yeah, that's they are centers of logistics, and that means that if something happened and all these logistical systems were destroyed or disrupted by any events that they have a lot of losses, but they cannot influence it in most cases. So they're highly dependent from some geopolitical stability in the world. And so that's the point where you can build your economy on the trade, but we always should take into consideration all those risks. Okay, in continuation of degree of openness, here, as soon as we again, coming back to this idea of classical dichotomy and this cycle of law, like the more complicated things is, the more often we will come back to this idea that we have this circulars of goods and services and factors of production, like one flow and another flow were always created in this monetary, I don't know, dimension of the world, yeah? We always have two flows. Now, when we talk about the balance of trade, degree of openness, we talk about the flows of goods and services. Yeah, that's what connected with this physical dimension of the economy. And that means that at the same time, we will have capital flows, the flows that are existed in these monetary dimensions. Yeah, that's investments in research and development, in stocks, in bonds, in real estate. So everywhere that we invest or put our money, that will create this another circle of flow. Yeah, so the money circle of flow. And the idea actually here that we also can think about interconnections of the country, like about this guy on the island. Remember that we have our, let's say, firm, yeah, our guy. And we said that the first we have cycle of flow of goods and services, and in another dimension we have cycle of flow of goods and services. And what is good? Yeah, that they were the same. Yes, so if we buy goods, we have to pay. If we sell like factors or supply the businesses with the factors of production, we receive instead like salary, profit from for entrepreneurial activity, rent, and etc. So these flows they like balanced, yes. So they are equal, and the same idea will work between the countries. If we look on two economies, here we will have, I don't know, one country, and here we will one country, and here we will have another country. We can also talk about two types of interconnection between countries. So the first, it's trade with goods and services. Yes, so that's I don't know, we import something to another country. And another dimension of this intercommunication of this connection, there's another circular flow, the capital flows. And they also will be equal. So not in any chosen point of time, but if we talk about some period of time, like 1 year, that is usually taken into consideration in the economy, these two floors will be balanced. It does, again, we're talking about economy as a whole, yes? So we're talking about economy of one country and another country. So that doesn't mean like that. We're not talking about two separate firms. Yeah, we're talking about communication or connection of two economies. Sorry, as total, and that give us idea how these flows circulate in between two economies. There's not only like assumption. There are calculations. So we have, if we take our GDP as a quotation and think about how we define our capital flows and trade flows, goods and services flows, we can actually confirm our hypothesis that those two flows will be equal. So net capital flow, that's like, we can call it also like net foreign investments. That's like acquisition of foreign assets by the residents minus domestic assets. We talk about foreign investments. And that net capital outflow, it will compensate these goods and services, trade and export. It's always in both cases, yes? So we have goods and services, and we have export and import. We can characterize it or describe it like trade balance. And the same, we need to pay for this, yeah? So we're not exchange, I don't know, milk for metal, yeah? And then metal for something else, yeah? So we trade, we use on this money or currency dimension. That means that we exchange not only physical assets, but also monetary assets, yeah? So we use it, the capital, and we can think about positive and negative capital outflow. So that means that more money comes to our economy and stay here, or we spend money more than earn them. Yes, so that we have this negative capital outflow. And for country, of course, it's better to have positive capital outflow at the end. So and we can assess this. So if I take two countries and we started to think about this first dimension with the goods and services, I don't know, like we export to the Poland, for example, some corn or whatever. You can import some cheese. You can choose any other goods that you can think is better for this example. And in this case, so that's what we see on this trade situation. Ukraine has negative trade balance, and Poland has positive trade balance. What is important, yeah, that's the same difference between two countries. It's just the matter of the fact, the difference in the size, sign. Yeah, because we trade with each other. That means if we're talking about trade balance between two countries, that means if I export more than import on, I don't know, $5 million with my neighbor, that means that the neighbor will import more than export on the same sum, because we trade with each other. Yeah, so that's connected, that's close. So is it clear why we have the same size of the trade balance in this situation? Yes, I'm still there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. And I hope it's like that you're not only there, but you also. Okay. This means that we have negative outflow from Ukraine on $100 million. That's our, sorry, Keiko. That's this. As soon as we like not receive enough money, yeah. So that's our minus negative, our national outflow. That how assets move, and the same we will have. The Poland will have positive net capital outflow because they receive more money. So we can thinking about assessing the economy in net capital outflows or export and import. It will give us the same results, but that's the different dimension. Yeah, that's because of this dichotomy that we can measure everything in like physical dimension and monetary dimension, because we have this physical spectrum of goods and services, the market of goods and services, and monetary market. And here it's important that usually when we measure this net capital outflow, we use not the current currency, the national currency, but so-called national recognized currency. Yeah, so it's generally dollar, euro, yens. It's changed through the time. We all know that United States dollars after Bretton Woods agreement becomes the most recognizable currency of the world. Then actually yen is also currencies that represent like stable economic growth, and euro. Euro and dollar, they are like competing all the time, and after Trump's latest Trump's elections, the situation for the dollar is changing, and that's the bad sign, not only like for the United States itself, but like also for economy, because as soon as the United States dollars were recognized everywhere, it was popular, it was generally used for all transactions. And now if firms were rejected from United States dollars, they will prefer like have savings in national banks in euro, trade in euro, for example, in yen. That means that it will affect not only like popularity of currency, but sooner or later also the economy of United States, because it's also dependent from the exchange rate and the currency. Because we always have, so we cannot talk about the trade only like in this dimension of goods and services one more time. It's always about the money. If we think about capital flow, and national accounts. Yes, so if we talk about that net export, we can think about like rewriting it and think about that net export plus import. That's actually what we call our, you remember this, yes? So that's what we have. And we can, if we think about this, we can say that our net export is something that create net capital outflow. That's what we saw with this trade between Poland and Ukraine. That's also that we can explain using this circular flow approach, or we can use just quotation and think that if we rewrite our net export using the quotation for GDP. And previously, I hope you remember that we talk about the savings, that our savings equal our investment, or savings equal our investment plus net export. That's what we have already discussed, I think, in the first or second meeting. And that's idea that's give us ability to come to the conclusion that yes, our net export, our trade balance is equal national capital outflow, that those two things and those two markets are interconnected. That's what you know about, should know about the open economy, that open degree of openness is not the same as trade balance, and that we have two dimension again when we can talk about openness of economy. Financial one that is reflected by net capital outflow, and physical one or goods and services one that is reflected or described by the trade balance. And generally, they are equal because we have this circular flow in economy. Does it make sense? Is it like, yes, no?
Yes.
Perfect. I hope at least so. So for now, I realized that's not the easiest topic. The next will be, I hope, easy. It was just about the exchange rate. It will be the continuation, and I think it's like more funny. It's a less theoretical one. Okay, now 10 minutes break and our last part for today, and you will be free and welcome to do your homework and spend.
Thank you.
Exchange rate, yes, so that's the definition is pretty easy. Yeah, that's the value of one nation currency versus currency of another nation or economic zone. Why economic zone? Because we have euro. Yeah, that's the currency for economic zone. And actually, we know that we can assess that what amount of what